Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Hannah, and today I'm feeling like I want to just do some really simple sketches and get back to the basics. So these are some of the things I'm going to be using, and I'm using this Prismacolor sharpener, and it sharpens so beautifully, especially on colored pencils that are not Prismacolor brand, which is really funny. This video is also going to be a little bit less edited and kind of more real time. So if you're into that and just kind of want to chill and draw with me, then sit down and relax and let's draw together. All right, so as I'm sketching, I am currently watching a TV show on Netflix in the background. And every time that I come across somebody who is like up close to the camera and has a good, pleasant expression on their face, I'm pausing it. And Netflix only pauses for a couple minutes, I think it's like 10 minutes, until the screen just kind of goes back to the menu. So I'm keeping, that's kind of like my time limit on these, is I'm trying to keep them all at 10 minutes or less. And then if the screen goes back to the menu, then I'm done. So since I have a time limit, I have to work on getting the main aspects of that person down. I'm not going for exact replicas or even trying to make it really look like that person exactly. So I'm almost reluctant to tell you what show I'm watching. So I'm curious to know after I'm done if you can guess what show I'm watching, because none of these are going to look like the people that I'm drawing. I'm going to tell you that from right now. So get your expectations set super low. Expect nothing. So this first guy is a guy who's looking a little to the left. He's wearing a backwards baseball cap and he has a massive chin. So those are the things that I'm really working on. I want to get the eyebrows down first, because if I can get those down, then I can kind of gauge everything off of the eyebrows and kind of use them as like a reference point. So the eyeballs would go kind of here. And then his nose, he's got kind of a big nose. And I'm just loosely putting it down, and then I will come back once all of the things are down and refine it a little bit more, because I'm going fast. I'm working in the time limit, so I have to get everything down first, just in case I lose the ability to look at him. Now, one thing that his mouth is very particular. I feel like a lot of people's mouths are very particular, but his, if you get the mouth wrong, it's not gonna look like him. So he has the backwards hat and he has the big chiseled chin, but he also has a very specific mouth, I feel like. So I'm trying to get the mouth done as well as I can for him with keeping it simple. And a little shadow under the lips. Now that we have the basics down for the face, let's move into the hair. And I mean, it's under a baseball cap, but you still have to put down that he has hair. Let's refine this a little bit more and make it look a little bit more like him. I wonder if this chin actually looks as chiseled as I think it is. And then how far down do we want this? Should it be like a full bust? I'm trying to keep his shapes pretty simple. He's wearing a button-up top. I feel like I'm just giving you hints at this point at who this guy is. So I'll just tell you. I'm watching Gilmore Girls, the season 7. So I'm episode, I think, 16. And I do tend to get the itch to rewatch it every year around this time, around fall. And since I live in Arizona, where we don't really get too much fall colors in the trees, it's really cool to feel immersed in a TV show that does get super fall. So that's really fun. I am already having so much fun. I can't even describe how good it feels to not care about making it perfect and just getting the lines down. This is excellent. So we have all the basics down. Let's refine these eyes a little bit more. I'm also trying to work a little bit more on getting like my style, trying to test out different things to see what sticks with me and see what I like and see what works. Right now, the thing that really catches me up a lot in drawing people is their eyes. So I decided to just take that out of the equation completely, and I'm only doing dot eyes, and we'll see how it works. I think you can still get a lot of expression with dot eyes. The light is coming from the right, and his left, my left, is mostly in shadow, so I won't have to worry so much about like getting those details down. But we do need to, let's fix this nose a little bit. He has more of a like pointy nose than this. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Now, I really enjoy shading, so I feel as though I can still make a sketch look really cool if I just add shading on top of the sketch. I'll focus some of the shadows right now around the eyes and just kind of work around the most shadowy parts first, and then I'll blend those into the rest of the face when I get there. Now he also has some 5 o'clock shadow, so hopefully I can make this look like 5 o'clock shadow and not just a regular shadow. Let's add some deeper shading and refine this mouth a little bit better. I find that sketches, everything starts as a sketch, right? So that's just as much effort that you put into the sketch to keep going deeper and deeper with it. But I want to get to the point where I don't want to get super deep, but I want to get like a little bit deep. I'm using Holbein colored pencil for this because I know that they don't erase very well, if at all, and I feel like that's a good way to feel really loose with what you're sketching, is knowing that you can't erase it. So the pressure is kind of off to be like, oh, I have to get this exactly perfect. And I really like that. So that's why I'm using this. Also, I'm starting off really light. I'm pressing super lightly, knowing that I'm going to be doing like several layers on here to deepen up and get more shadow and all that stuff, add more texture. All right, so I like the direction that it's headed in so far. Let's start going a little bit deeper with the lines and shading. The shadows that I want to focus on the most are like the really dark shadows. So under his collar right here is the darkest, under his ear is the darkest, and under his nose and like the other side of his face. So those should be the darkest. I'm going to put a lot of pressure there. This is at a point of the show where he is not wearing Lorelai's hat. So this is his black hat. I drew it a little bit oversized, but I don't care. I'm just having so much fun. His eyebrows need to be a little bit darker. I feel like his eyebrows are in the right spot, but his eyes look a little tiny. So I think that for now I'll keep it and change it up later if I absolutely hate it. But for now, it's gonna stay super tiny eyes. I also think it looks kind of funny. And if it makes me laugh, then it's gonna stay. Let's add some shading on the shirt now, under his collar, and then closer to the left side of his shirt, because the light is coming from the right. And then let's just go ahead and add some contrast and keep this hat really dark. I just want to do a quick wash with colored pencil here, and I'm not caring about if it's absolutely perfect. I kind of want it to be out of the lines a little bit, just to keep that pressure off and to keep it really loose. and coloring out of the lines for me is usually an absolute fear. So if I can just do it and choose to not care about it, then I feel like I'll loosen up with everything else and it'll turn out just to be a really good time. This pencil is awesome. I highly recommend coloring with something that's not going to erase. Okay, so the screen just timed out on me, so I gotta be done. I'm gonna do some finishing touches and meet you at the end. I basically just gave him a background to bring him a little bit closer up and really just solidified my favorite lines a little bit more, darken those up. Yeah, so this guy's done. All right, so for the next picture, I want to go for like a neutral type tone, and let's do this green color. My only problem that I've had with Polychromos is that the greens in the batch that I got, the wood looks really chipped when I sharpen it. All the greens, it's super weird. It still sharpens up well, it just is really woody. So that's weird. I had to move on to a new episode because I couldn't get any good shots of people up close to the screen, and nobody looked really pleasant. It was a weird episode. Season 7 is super... It's not my favorite season in the whole world. I mean, they're trying to tie things up and everything is just kind of like somber. It's all just weird. I feel like the last season of any show is going to be a little bit weird because they have to tie things up in ways that maybe you don't agree with. But I still rewatch it almost every year around fall time. Let's give these dot eyes again, and this guy is just super unimpressed all the time. So let's give him unimpressed eyelids, or like the top of the eyes, and hopefully we can get that gesture across without actually needing to add a lot of details. There's nothing really like crazy about this nose, but I think it's the angle that's making it a little bit difficult. I have to remember to stay loose. So let's just add like this line right here. There we go, done. Let's move on to the mouth now that the nose is done. I absolutely love drawing mouths now. I don't know what it is because I used to hate mouths. They used to really, really intimidate me. But now I find mouths really fun. They're one of the most fun features for me to draw. And a lot of it is because I find it really fun to draw the outer edges of the mouth really dark. I don't know what it is, but for some reason that's really just like the perfect thing in my brain. It satisfies everything about the sketch it all comes down to it all comes down to making the corner of the edges of the mouths dark. So there you go. Hope that helps. I absolutely love drawing ears also. I had a stint where I liked drawing noses, and I still kind of get into that every once in a while, but ears and mouths are by far the most satisfying thing for me to draw. By the way, this guy looks nothing like Michel. And that's totally fine that it doesn't look like him. I'm not really trying to make it look like him. I really just want to practice different expressions and different qualities that people have that I don't really think about on the daily basis to draw. I really like that they're coming out a little childish, and that's really fun. All right, so the gist of the head and face are pretty much down. So let's get the gist down onto the shoulders and bust area. And he's wearing a suit, and for this part, I just kind of have to turn my brain off. Just put the lines down without thinking about it and getting caught up in all the details, because all you really need is some of the lines, and then everything else you can fix it if you want to, or just leave it, or leave it off completely. It doesn't need every single line. But knowing this guy, he's very particular about his looks, and I kind of want to respect that in this sketch too. So I'm adding in the lines of his three-piece suit just to make it more like him, capture his essence a little bit more. Now that I have all the key lines down, I'm going to start working on the shading. I'll probably get the darkest parts first and then slowly start blending into the parts that maybe don't have so much shadow. Now I'm just darkening up some of the spaces that I already have covered, just to slowly start darkening and adding more contrast to make it look more interesting to look at. I'm having fun using the colored pencil all in one direction, or mostly in the same direction, so like up and down. I really like that vertical look. It kind of gives it like a vintage look. I think it looks really cool. The face I feel like is pretty good now, so I'm going to be marking up, deepening up some of these lines in the suit a little bit more, trying to stay really loose. I want to keep some of those sketchy lines and not keep it absolutely perfect. And then I'll add just a little wash of color over the suit and trying to keep it really sketchy looking, so I'm not coloring this in perfectly. I really like how the background looked on Luke, so I think I'm gonna do that across all of the portraits that I'm doing today. I might keep it a little bit lighter around his face to kind of keep him forward and separated from the background a little bit. So it'll be darker around the edges. You know what I mean? But the Netflix thing just timed out, so I gotta move on to the next one after this. I'm feeling a brown for this one. I'm trying to keep the vibe very neutral. This is a Polychromos pencil again. I wish I had more colors of Holbein, but the set that I got is very like vibrant. And I wish that I don't know if they have like a more neutral set, but this is the one that I chose. They have a few different color options for the 12 set pack that they sell. I don't know if that makes sense. They sell 12 packs in several different color combinations, and you can pick whatever you want. I feel like that's not that hard to understand, but I'm making it much more confusing than it needs to be. All right, so moving on to this next portrait. This is Rory. She's generally just very easy to draw. She holds her face in a very consistently pleasant way. So you can pretty much still frame her in any situation and she's going to be drawable and the results will always turn out pleasant. So that's really nice to know that there's someone that you can draw all the time. And if you remember the blue girl from the very beginning of the video, she was the blue girl too. That was Rory. I really like how these dot eyes are turning out. It doesn't seem to be taking away from the picture at all. So that's helpful for me to know because it's more fun to draw this way. I feel like if it's fun to draw and if it makes it easier for you to draw a sketch, that's turning into your style. So maybe that's just the direction that I think that I want to go with this. I'll just keep drawing it this way and we'll see how it looks at the very end once like the whole spread is complete, but for now, I like how it's turning out. I like how Rory looks with bangs. I think she looks very regal and it fits her well. She's kind of shaping up to be a little bit of an old woman in my picture, but I'm okay with that. Like I said, I'm not trying to make it look exactly like her. I'm just using her for inspiration just to get creative and throw a little sketch down on the page and try to make it look cool. Add a little bit more definition to these bangs. Darken up some of the bottom of the bangs. And I feel like I have the bones down so I can start darkening up some of this hair. Some shading to the face. I wonder if this will fix some of the old lady vibe that I have going on. And I think I want her mouth to go a little bit more accurately, ending right around her eye line. I think that might make her look a little bit happier. It's so crazy because every time that I rewatch Gilmore Girls, I'm probably on like my 8th or 9th rewatch of my life. Every time that I rewatch it, I have a different perspective, or I see it from maybe like the first time I've watched it, it was through Rory's perspective because I was a little bit younger, but now I tend to rewatch it through Lorelai and the grandma's perspective, which is kind of funny. But every time that I watch it, I have like a different favorite character or somebody that I identify with a little bit more. And there are some times that I rewatch it where I just cannot stand certain characters, but then other times they don't bother me at all. So I'm adding in a little bit darker of contrast now because it's looking good, but it's looking very one note. So I want a little bit more darkness to shine through. And I think that I will do that mostly through the hair. And this hair is kind of falling over her shoulder. There we go. I like that. Darken up the eyes a little bit more. And I really like how sweet this drawing is turning out so far. It's very subtle, and I'm working on trying to make there be like a focal point. Trying to keep most of the things simple except for what I want you to look at. So for this, I mainly want you to focus on the eyes. Even though they're really simple, dot eyes, And then everything else can kind of be soft and airy, having like an airy quality to it. I really like how this spread is leaning so far. I have one more spot in this spread. I want to stay neutral, so I want maybe this dark red color. This is Polychromos again. Gotta sharpen it to make it stay murderous. I hope that this far into time, I hope that in this point in time, since Gilmore Girls is like 25 years old, that I am not giving away any spoilers. At this point, if you haven't watched it, do you think that there should be like a time limit on when spoilers should just not be spoilers anymore? Like, you had your chance to watch it, so if you haven't watched it by now, you don't really care about spoilers. That's kind of my mindset right now. My point in saying this is this next character is Logan. He comes pretty far in the series, so that was the reason why I mentioned the spoilers. I didn't want to give away anything or any characters that maybe you haven't met yet. This is Logan. Something about when I still framed this shot of him, he looks very not like Logan. It's almost like he doesn't photograph the same way that his essence comes across when he's moving and talking. So I hope that this picture will capture some sort of element of him. And if not, then I guess, oh well. It'll still be fun. This mouth looks so cartoony. Looks like a clown so far. Maybe adding in hair will help? Well, this might just be a trust the process one. I think I want to move this eye a little bit up to make him look a little bit more cheeky. He's kind of a cheeky character, so I want to capture that just a little bit. Wow, that made him look like a grandma. What is going on with me and grandmas today? We can always adjust it at the end if we absolutely need to. Let's fix this line since it's not like a straight on view of him. It's more of he's looking over his shoulder. And also that might make him look a little bit more like a man instead of an old lady. I need to fix this mouth. I know that I want to keep it loose, but if it's too far off, it's just gonna look really cartoony and really just silly. I'm all about silly, but sometimes there's just like too much silly. Whoa, look at those cheekbones. Maybe giving him a jaw will manlify him. It helped. His hair is very swoopy and I like that. I don't usually draw swoopy hair. Oh, this hair is getting too... Since I moved the head or moved the line of the face, that hair is coming out a little bit too far. Need to bring it in a little bit more, but his hair is still pretty puffy. So we have to keep that element. And I don't want to add in every detail of his hair. I kind of want to keep it suggesting that it's puffy and not in your face puffy. Thicken up these eyebrows more. Whoa, he's looking in two totally different directions. Let's try to fix that. All right, so which eye is more accurate? I think I like the left eye more, so I'm gonna erase this one and fix where this right eye is looking, his left. Is that better? Oh yeah, that's better. I think that jumping around a lot when I'm sketching just keeps me staying loose. Because if I focus in on one detail or one part of the sketch a lot, then I tend to hone in and just like really, really try to get that perfect. But if I only do like little bits at a time, then it keeps it loose. I can't get over obsessed with it if I don't spend a lot of time on it. So that's kind of why I'm jumping around a bit. Whoa, this is up really high. Let's lower this. Whoa. Get out of here. Oh yeah, that's better. There's so many leather jackets in this show. It's always fun to look back and see like the style of different ages. Because why can't I say leather? Because leather jackets were so in. I remember me and my husband got leather jackets when we first got married, and we loved them, but we don't wear them anymore. Honestly, I bet if it still fit me, I would probably wear it more or wear it again. I'm not really the type of person to say, oh, that was so last year, I'm not going to do that anymore. No, if it's comfortable and I like it, I'm going to stick with it. The bones are good. Let's add some contrast. Go a little bit deeper with some of these colors under the hair and in like some of the darker shading, and the eyes need to get darker. Since the eyes are going to be the focal point, hopefully, in all of these drawings, the eyes need to be the darkest part. I know he's a blonde kid, but somehow in this picture it doesn't look so blonde. It definitely has some darkness to it, so that's why I went ahead and just kind of drew that darker. I also think it's really fun to have like the really sketchy lines, just lines, and not trying to make it look absolutely smooth. I like the texture that gives, and any place that I can believably put that, I'm going to. So let's deepen up the edges, the corners of the mouth, my favorite part. And the video just stopped on me. The still frame just went away and went back to the menu. So I'm going to do some finishing touches, and I will meet you when I'm done. I pretty much just darkened up some lines and gave him a background, and I filled out this spread, but I don't want to be done. I'm having way too much fun. So I am going to move on to the left page now, and I'll continue there. I already have a blue version of Rory, so we'll just kind of play off of that and make it one big spread. I'll use this deliciously neutral color. This is Polychromos again. I want to start moving into Holbein, but I'm not ready to give up the super neutral color palette. I decided to go back and I chose this still frame from season 2, and after I drew Logan, I spent a lot of time skipping ahead trying to find the next up close shot of somebody. I went back to season 2 just so that I could have more up close shots of people, more options to choose from. The other reason why I decided to go back was because I found that I was just kind of skipping a lot of the show just so I could have something to draw, and I was missing a lot of what was happening. I know that I've seen this so many times, but I still want to be immersed in it. I'm still watching it, and I want to preserve that happiness from watching it. So I decided to stop drawing from season 7 and just go back so that I didn't ruin my watching experience. I only have like a few episodes left, and I know that it's going to clinch off in a really good way. So I want to be fully immersed in it so that the ending just pays off really well. Anyway, so this is Lorelai. She has such a beautiful smile. I want to try to capture that here. I really like doing this little shadow under the lips. Instead of drawing the lines for the lips, I feel like it adds a lot more suggestion of a mouth instead of in your face again. And I'm trying to practice the suggestion. Just some loose curls here. I'm not gonna think too hard about curls. Drawing curls is something that I can get absolutely just stuck on, and I don't want to get stuck here. I want to keep it loose, so I'm not going to think too hard. That looks awful. I have to fix that. So I'm going to try to not think too hard about the curls and just kind of move on. I want to try this time getting all the lines down for the whole picture before I start adding shading. I want to see if it will change the outcome. So this is her turtleneck. One thing that I noticed about these characters and their wardrobe is that they all have some kind of collar almost all the time, or at least some kind of texture in the frontal part of their body. What a weird way to say that. Most of the time they have like either a collar or a coat or a button-up shirts that have the collar or a scarf or something. They do a lot of layers, and if they're not doing layers, there's some kind of funky sleeve or shoulder. It's fun. Living in such a hot climate, I can't really layer too much or I'm gonna die. So I don't really have I haven't really exercised that ability to have a really cool fashion sense. So I'm pretty much always in t-shirts. I like the line so far, so let's add some shading. Her hair's really dark right here, so I wonder if I can add some kind of an element of like the light is shining on the left by making this really dark and then the other part's not so dark. But then I also want to keep it loose. There's a fine line between adding in a lot of details and keeping it loose. I love shading so much. Now this part around the eye is gonna be a darker shade, so I'm just trying to get this to look appropriate. Yeah, that's good. I like how the eyes are positioned, so I'm gonna darken those up now that I know that I like it. I'm not liking how this nose is turning out, so I'm gonna change that. I don't really know how I'm going to yet, so I'll work around it for now. So I want this to be the bottom of her nose, and her nose is upturned just a little bit, so I want to show a little bit more of the nostrils. That's good enough. And then I'll work on the shading to get the angle right. I like the lines, and let's bring it to life with some shading now. And darkening up some of the lines that I want to stand out a little bit more, have some contrast, and where I want like the eyes to land when you're looking at it. I also have found that doing the dot eyes like this is just really good practice for getting the eyes to look like they're going in the same direction. That is something that I struggle with, is when I'm doing realistic eyes, they're never looking in the same direction. So I feel like this is good. This is a good exercise. All right, so the screen just timed out on me and I can't see her anymore. I'm going to finish up this drawing and I will meet you when I am done. So I pretty much just darkened up the outside lines and darkened up her jacket. And now I'm giving her a background, and then I will be done with this and move on to the next one. I really just want to do Holbein again, so I'm going to do Holbein. I'll choose this red color. And the next picture that I found was calling out to me was Kirk. It's in the same scene as Lorelai just was, as you can kind of tell by the background a little bit. But I think it's going to be really fun to draw. I like how his head is shaped, and I like that he's not really smiling. He's making a little bit different of an expression than I've been drawing, and I think it's going to be really fun. I also really enjoy drawing hats. Luke was wearing a hat earlier, but this one is facing forward, so it's a totally different vibe. And it's also on Kirk, so that means something too. Not the same as Luke. His ear comes out under the hat and just over to the left. And before I go too far down, I want to get the eyebrows in so that I kind of have a reference point for how far down I want the chin to go. Get his nose down. This is where his mouth is going to go. And I think for this one, it's important to get the eyelid, the top of the eyelid shape down, just to solidify his expression. And also so the dot eyes aren't perfectly circular. They're like cut off by the eyelid. And that's very important for the expression. Ooh, I like that. Okay, I like how the eyes are turning out. I feel hopeful about the rest of the face. And now I'm even more excited to continue. Now let's get the shape of the outside of his head down a little bit better, because it doesn't come in so far towards his mouth. There we go. So you can kind of see his cheek on the other side. Let's solidify how the nose is going to be. Just add a few of the most important details, like his nostril and like the outer part of his nostril. And I'm excited to do this mouth. He carries his mouth in a very specific way. So I'm just gonna fortify like the outside dots and then the shadow underneath, and then I think that's all I'll do for the mouth. And I need to add this line. It's a very particular part about him. And then darkening up these eyebrows. He is very eyebrow forward in how he acts. Like his eyebrows are always down and kind of stern looking. And if I get that part right, I think the rest will kind of fall into place, even if it's not exact. It's just fun to practice different expressions that, I don't usually draw. So again, I'm having so much fun. So I'm going to darken up some of my favorite lines here. I absolutely love drawing ears and really detailed ears, so I have to hold myself back since I'm trying to keep it simple. That's the only thing that's been breaking my heart so far, is that I can't go really, really in depth with the ears. All right, let's add in his shirt now. I love how he's turning out. I didn't expect him to look this interesting. Maybe since my expectations were low for this one, I'm surprising myself a little bit more. Now he's got a jacket on too, so I'm gonna add in the lines to the jacket, make it very interesting. And he's got like this, he's holding this satchel thing, so there it is. And I have all the basic lines down, so I'm gonna start adding in some contrast and some texture. That's my favorite thing about Holbein over Polychromos, is I feel the texture comes through more forward with the Holbein. I want to change this line just so they match a little bit better. I'm really happy with how he's turning out so far, so I think that I might be done, and I'll just add a background. I'm kind of surprised that this one is turning out so good because it hasn't even been the 10 minutes yet. All the other ones so far have been timed out before I get to this point, so this one came together really fast. Gotta add in the corners of the mouth, and I think I'll just use this time to just deepen up some of the lines. Oh my goodness, you can't even see him. Dang! This is my favorite one so far. What a bummer. I hope you could see most of it. All right, so let's add in a little bit more details, darken up some of these lines, and then I'll be done with him. All right, this is the last spot, and I am trying to stay neutral in who I choose to put in these spots. I'm really just going off of the very first one that comes up next. That's a good still frame. So this one is Jess, and this actually is not my favorite look of his, but since he came up next, this is what I'm drawing. So let's get the bones down first. Make sure everything is lined up. His nose goes right about here. And then we'll get the eyebrows down before we get the dot eyes. There are so many characters in Gilmore Girls that I think it might be fun to do this again and maybe do like a draw along with me type video where we watch an episode and just kind of stop at the same points and draw the same people. I think that would be really fun. Like a Gilmore Girls drawing club. I'm totally up for that. So if we can figure out a way to do that, I would be down. So Jess's most defining feature is his crooked mouth. So that is going to be super fun to draw. And I think it will be very clear at the end once I'm done that it will be him because of his mouth, even if nothing else looks like him. I got too excited about the mouth, I forgot to do the dot eyes. I'm gonna try giving him lines above the dot eyes this time. We'll see how it turns out. Give him some face shading. It's always funny when you are too excited about something and you go all in on one aspect and then nothing else is done. I went too hard in on the mouth because I was too excited about getting that done. That now nothing else looks to the same level of completeness. Let's get his hair in before we go down any further. He's got very swoopy hair with the wings on the sides. And then his ears kind of pop out from underneath. He almost looks more like Dean in this drawing than Jess. That's funny. I wonder if it'll look more like Jess when I'm done. Let's scribble in some hair color just to make it dark. All right, I need to get the lines down for his jacket before I lose the reference. I'm trying just to do this fast. The faster you go, the more loose it's going to be. So I'm trying not to think too hard about it. I'm trying mainly to find just simple shapes and then building off of that, building off of the shape that I just did. The sunlight is coming through the blinds in a really awful way. So once I'm done getting this down, then I'm going to close the blinds and change the lighting just a little bit. Oh, that's so much better. I'm going to change this eye. I'm actually really surprised. This is coming together so much faster than I expected. There we go. That's better. So I still have a few minutes before I'm timed out. So I'm trying to get some of the details done that I need to look at. I'm going to change this nose. I'm going to do the general shape of his nose, get like a good base, and then it's going to come out here. And then his nostril's going to go right about here. That's better. And it didn't erase fully because this is Holbein, so you can still see the ghost lines underneath. I don't really care about that. Then we'll add in some shading, bring it to life a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and finish up darkening up some of the contrasty bits, and I will meet you when I'm done. Okay, so hair's a little bit darker. I gave him a background, darkened up his coat, and now I'm just gonna shade the edges of his neck a little bit more, tuck those back, make it actually look round. Logan is totally bothering me, so I'm gonna see what I can do to make this match the other ones. I'm thickening up his eyebrows to hopefully make him look a little bit more like a dude. And I want his jacket to be darker, just to add in a little bit more completeness and not just line work with his jacket, because it is a black coat or a black leather jacket. Now that it's dark, these lines kind of went away, so I'm just going to reinforce these lines quickly. It already looks so much better. So he still kind of looks like an old lady, but whatever. And this is the final 8 Gilmore Girls characters in very simple sketch form. This was a lot of fun. I loved doing this session so much. I hope it was enjoyable for you. I am going to change a couple things. I'm going to give Rory a background, and I'm going to work on Luke a little bit more. The tiny eyes, the tiny face. It does make me laugh, but it is so different from the other characters on here. So I'm going to fix him, make him just a little bit more realistic and less tiny-faced. Okay, his eyes are a little bit bigger and darker, and his eyebrows are a little bit bigger and darker. And then I fixed some of the shading just to give it a little bit more contrast. And I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. He's definitely different from everyone else. I'm not going to ignore that. It still makes me laugh. So I'm still going to keep it, and I'm not going to change it too much more. That was so much fun. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Toodaloo!